Welcome to the Kill the Lion podcast. It's me, Cody Clarke. We got an awesome show for you today. Trent Lenkarski is here. You know him from Joel Haver's shorts. Millions of views on these. People love Trent. I love Trent. Trent's a really funny guy. He's also got his own YouTube. He's doing great shorts on there. Really unique stuff, really funny stuff. Can't wait to talk to him. Can't wait for you to hear me talk to him. Before we get into it, once again, if you like the show, support us. $2 per month. KillTheLionFilms.com. You're not just supporting the show, you're supporting the studio as well. And now, Trent Lenkarski. All right, Trent, nice to talk to you.
Yeah, good to hear from you.
So, people have been adoring your work in Joel Haver's shorts. You have been viewed by millions of people. You're beloved by millions of people. Did you have any background in doing comedy or any performance before the Joel Haver shorts?
Not really. Yeah, it's pretty much just been with Joel that I've really started getting into comedy and actually like performing for people, I guess.
And what are your comedy tastes? What are your what's the stuff you like as far as comedy, growing up or stuff you like now?
It's a little bit all over the place. I don't really have like one specific niche that I enjoy, but I do like a bunch of different things. I have this one like really specific memory of being like in middle school, and I used to have like the Pandora radio app. I would stay up until like 2 or 3 in the morning, like listening to the like stand-up comedy station on there. So just like random skits from like stand-up comedians and stuff. So I feel like maybe I absorbed some of that stuff, and I think just in general, just everyday interactions and stuff.
Yeah, the everyday interaction stuff. It seems like that's something you bond with Joel on comedically, mining that sort of humor from the mundane, so to speak. Is that something that you notice around town? Do you live in a small town? Do you like pick up on those like weird little interactions?
Yeah, definitely. I live in the same town as Joel, Belchertown, Massachusetts. Pretty small town. Being from a small town, I think you notice certain like little things that other people might not notice, and I think you can just kind of take those and run with them and make them like really funny, or just taking something very mundane and adding like one little twist to it can make it like really funny, I think.
Yeah, I grew up going up to Massachusetts, usually in the summertime, to visit my grandparents in Cape Cod. And I remember, reading the Cape Cod little like local newspapers and stuff, and just being amused, and my parents kind of being amused by the quaint kind of like humor of just strange little stories that would be stories in a small town paper and all that. And not laughing at it per se, laughing kind of with it, because I think quaint small town stuff kind of knows it's that as well. There's kind of an awareness there that maybe gets overlooked, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. I totally feel that. Yeah, you have like these certain like things that everyone kind of knows about, like I don't know, like certain like locations or stores or whatever, and you just know like random facts about it or whatever.
Have you been to Cape Cod much?
A little bit. I haven't been in a couple of years, but I used to go a couple times when I was a kid as well.
Yeah, it's it's somewhere that's very dear to me and fond to me, and a lot of good beaches, a lot of good ponds to swim in, which is funny because like you'll mention ponds, and to the uninitiated, people will be like, "Oh, it's probably like pond scum and stuff," and it's like, no, it's like beautiful. It's it's much better than some lakes. There's ponds that like the water is like super duper clear, and it's just great swimming. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, people, I feel like the term pond scum just like ruined ponds for a lot of people. It's like the one term people know associated with ponds. I don't know. I think that kind of ruined it. Are you against the term pond scum and the effect it's had on how people view ponds?
I never really thought about it until now, but I think I'm a pretty staunch anti-pond scum person now.
Well, I'm glad to bring you aboard. This is a crusade that I've taken up as of about 30 seconds ago, but I feel strongly about it, even though I haven't really thought about it until just now.
Me too, definitely.
So, comedic stuff. You mentioned listening to Pandora. When I listen to your little audio kind of theater of the mind, which I think I can term it that. Would you call it that? Where basically you want to conjure up visuals in the listener's head.
Yeah, I didn't really think of the specific name for it, but I think that's it exactly. Yeah.
It brings to mind some of the old like Adam Sandler skits he would have on some of his albums. Like there was do you remember any of those? Do you remember like there was like a one where he's like a goat that like some random guys are just like talking to. They're just like these great little pieces. Did you ever listen to those?
I actually just talked with Joel about this recently, and we were talking about those. And the only one that I really remember is the one where it's like he's like going to the bathroom, and it's just like excessively long.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do remember that one. I don't really remember the other ones as well, but
I would say definitely check out the goat one. I think it's pretty similar to the stuff you do, and it in a awesome way where it's just like I feel like in comedy, it's just great to see when like somebody else is on your same wavelength. I think that's part of why you and Joel's stuff works together so well. Is you just there's just a real connection there. It becomes like you're finishing each other's sentences almost comedically because a lot of your stuff is fully improvised. I believe, right?
absolutely, yeah. We never write anything down.
Was that kind of your way in? Was it this thing where like maybe you would have thought like, oh, if I want to do comedy, I gotta write, and writing might be a slog, and it's like, well, now you're doing improv and you're writing on the spot. It just kind of flows out of you.
It's weird because it's like I kind of am like a strong writer. Like I did really well in like high school English classes, and then in college I took a couple English classes that I did well in, but I don't know if that just translates well to just from brain to mouth out, like just having like knowing the words and how to use them sometimes. I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of the improv stuff, it does come from that bouncing off of someone else, and that's something that Joel and I do really well, I think.
Yeah, the way that I see writing and my approach to writing as well, because I have a bit of a writing background too, is I see myself almost as a vessel. You know, I'm just hearing the words and I'm putting them down on paper, kind of like if I were a court stenographer. You know, I consider myself kind of a stenographer for the muse, so to speak, where I'm just there to, put it down on paper. I'm not there to even know what I'm saying or what's being said through me at the time. I'm just there to put it down and then, no judgment as it's coming out. The hand is kind of quicker than the mind, and I'm just putting it down there, and then there you go. And that's been my approach to writing, which I fully understand is probably training wheels and muscle work for improv as well, because it's much the same thing. Do you feel like it's just kind of coming through you when you're improvising?
Yeah, yeah. I think it does just kind of like flow through you, like you said. Yeah, I think another part of it is like I don't know. It's kind of like a gross visual, but I think of it like ideas like fermenting almost. Like some ideas, like I'll get like for like an audio skit, like I'll get them in the shower, and then I'll write them down, and then like I won't think about it for like a day or two, and then I'll finally like sit down and reread what I wrote, and then I'm like, oh, that's perfect, and then I sit down and then I improvise it.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. So your pieces that you do by yourself they kind of verge between drama and comedy. They kind of ride this great line where you don't know when the joke is coming or if there's necessarily a joke coming, and they have like a calmness to them as well. When you sit down and do one of these pieces, because I assume these are improvised as well, right?
Most of them, yeah. There are a few that I have actually like I do actually like write out a script for, just because there's like certain wording I want to make sure I get.
So when you sit down to do one, is it just where you just bang it out kind of in one go? Do you do retakes? What's your approach there?
It's honestly a little bit of both, because there are some where I sit down and I get it in one go, and I'm like, holy crap, that's it, that's perfect, and I'll just re-record like one or two words or a couple lines and throw those in. But there are some where I do like a full like retake of the whole thing, or I add a whole different part at the end and then throw that in where it belongs. A little bit of both, I think.
They have this great kind of meditative quality to them where you're just kind of staring at an image, and that's kind of your prompt, and everything that else happens in your mind as you're listening, is coming from the words, and you feel like you're being sort of guided almost through like a comedic guided meditation. It's a really cool thing that you've settled upon as your kind of YouTube contribution. And it's been great to see that people are receptive to it as well. They're not like, hey, why aren't you doing more like, cartoons or whatever? They're going along with you on the ride. They have a lot of respect for what you're doing. It's really awesome to see that happening on YouTube for you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah. I do plan on having more visuals later on. Like one thing I do a lot of like hiking and stuff. So like I plan on going on like hikes and getting like longer shots of certain nice scenery or like trees moving or something and then adding those into it. I just haven't really had the time to get into that yet, but that is something I do want to do at some point.
So the listeners, they can look forward to maybe 2 images, maybe 3 images at one point.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't want to overwhelm people.
Yeah. Eventually we'll get to 24 images per second, but it's gonna be a bit of a journey to get there beforehand. So do the outdoors mean a lot to you? It seems like you like hiking, you like trees, you like nature, you like all that. Is that a big important thing for you?
Definitely. Yeah, because I grew up here, like in this area, my whole life, pretty much, and then I lived down in Connecticut for about 5 years. I lived in like West Haven and New Haven and Bridgeport, Connecticut, and then once all the COVID stuff, once all that started, I ended up moving back up to Massachusetts with my parents. And one thing that really has gotten me through like a lot of tough times and everything has been getting outside and going hiking, going on bike rides and stuff. I think that's really important. I think nature's awesome.
It certainly is. Where do you find the humor in nature? Because there definitely is humor in nature. I'll be watching like an old like David Attenborough like thing about like animals or insects and stuff, and there is stuff to find humorous. Do you find humor out there in the woods?
Yeah, I think so. I do have an idea written down for a skit. I don't A little bit of an inside scoop, but I think sometimes the people you interact with are really interesting on hikes and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Now, obviously, you can encounter man-made things out there too. I know you found a kind of like broken, demolished, burnt house or something. I don't know if this was something you knew of ahead of time and maybe you went to it, or you just kind of happened upon it. Tell me about this house that you encountered, which you did a short film based off of, which has gotten over 1 million views. People really love that one as far as the live action stuff. It taps into something as far as like what people can relate to, but it's also making use of completely free production values that like if Hollywood was going to do that skit, they would need to build a house, demolish it. It would be this whole ordeal, but you guys just kind of happened upon this location. What was this location that you found?
So that Joel actually knew about it first. It's like at the end of a dead end road that he used to live on, and then we were just exploring it like a couple months ago. I don't know if he knew about it beforehand, but we were like exploring there a couple months ago, and we actually found like these two like destroyed houses, and then eventually like whenever that was, like a few weeks ago when we made that video, we're like, hey, why don't we like try and think of something to do there? And we just kind of came up with that, like treating a very like awkward conversation in this really extreme location.
Yeah, it's an extreme location that I think a lot of people can relate to just metaphorically. Just this feeling of just ignoring something that's just completely obviously going wrong. Kind of like, that meme with like the dog where like the house is on fire and he's like, this is fine. It's just like you guys tapped into something there that's connecting with resonating with people, especially, with the pandemic and everything that's going on, and people getting their lives together and figuring it out and just trying to navigate it. That kind of humor where you're tapping into something emotional as well for people. It's what people need right now. I think people need to feel like, they're not alone with this.
Yeah, it's interesting to think of it like that. We really didn't expect that one to do that well. Like it's it's really like strange, I guess. I don't know.
Has it been kind of a constant surprise, this process of, putting stuff out there, and a lot of it's taken off like crazy. Some of these cartoons that you guys do together, they get 5 million hits almost. has it been just a total surprise? Do you feel like when you finish one of these things, like, oh man, this is going to be the one? Like, what's the feeling there? What's the reaction there as you've been seeing these connect with people so deeply?
It's really strange. I don't know. Like, it's weird to think about. Like, I was just talking to Joel about this the other day, where I saw some post on like Instagram, and it was this artist talking about like getting like 30 likes on something doesn't seem like a lot, but if 30 people walked in the room, I'd be really overwhelmed. And that's kind of how I feel, where it's like millions of people, and I would never really expect to encounter millions of people. So it's it's a very extreme feeling, and I don't really know how to process it, honestly.
It's amazing. You're just starting out. You've reached millions of people. It's every comedian's kind of dream slash nightmare, because it's like, how do you live up to this? But you are living up to this because you're doing what people want from you. You're churning out great material. People love Trent. I see people in the comments, they'll be like, oh, he sounds like John Benjamin, or oh, his vibe is this, or oh, this, that, and the other. But in truth, you're very distinctly you. I love John Benjamin. I love a lot of different, more dry comedians or whatever, but you are distinctly you, and I think that's part of the success there. I think people crave a certain authenticity. As we're talking right now, you're not doing a bit. You're not some British guy that just has this American character he's figured out. This is your energy, and people crave that. People love that. And if you're ever going to be famous for something in this world, I think it's damn good that you're famous for your own energy. You're not having to put on this rock star persona to be beloved by people, or any other persona. You're just being Trent, and people love that.
Oh man, thanks. I think that's part of why it feels really strange to me, because it's like I don't want to say I'm not doing anything, but I feel like I'm not doing anything like extraordinary. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Well, maybe extraordinary isn't always needed. Maybe people just need something real, kind of like encountering somebody in the woods and just having a nice conversation, or just some interesting interaction. It might be a pandemic thing too. It might be where people are realizing what they truly miss in life and in the outside world, these little interactions, whether it's happening in a supermarket, kind of like your recent one that you did with Joel Haver, which was great. People maybe miss these interactions, and you're somebody who can deliver them comedically with a bit of authenticity there. So what's the interactions been like for you? Are you getting lots of direct messages? Are you getting a lot of comments? Do you have the opportunity to respond to some?
Yeah, I get a few comments on the videos, or like on my audio things. All like really nice comments, just like saying that they enjoyed it and everything, and I really like those. I try to respond to as many as I can.
Have you been seeing the people getting like tattoos in your honor? There was a Marshall tattoo, or there was a tattoo of your character in that as well, that somebody was considering getting. I think they got like a temporary one that they were then going to have somebody trace over or whatever. They're kind of figuring out the placement on their body, but it's quite possible that in the near future you will be on somebody's body. It looks like somebody's at least considering it.
That's pretty wild. Yeah, I did see the tattoo of the old man on Joel's subreddit. I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, there seems to be a Marshall one as well, which is amazing. Which it's just to anybody that's uninitiated, it's just a rat on somebody's arm, but to the person who got it, it's Marshall. Damn it.
Yeah, very true. It's so cool to think about that, because it's just because like everything we do is improvised, so that's just some random character we came up with a random name we came up with, and it's just on someone's body now.
Yeah, that's high praise for improvisation for sure. That it can become a lasting character. I think it's very encouraging for a lot of people starting out too. I was talking in the previous podcast with this guy Nathan Cash. He's an actor. He's a producer. I was talking to him about the concept of like small pond versus big pond. Not to bring it back to ponds, but apparently I'm obsessed with ponds lately. I don't know why, but the idea that like what we're doing, okay, the what we're like the small pond and studio system, Hollywood, that's all the big pond, and we're big fish in a small pond, and it's better than being a small fish in a large pond. But what I'm realizing now, and I think a lot of people are realizing, is the small pond is way bigger than anybody realized. I mean, you can connect to people deeply and across the entire world, and you're as important to them as anything else they're seeing that's mainstream that they're connecting with, maybe even more important to them because it's coming from an authentic place. So this idea that like we're big fish in a small pond is kind of dead because of the internet and because of YouTube. It's this obsolete mentality that we still kind of carry with us in some odd way, but like the people that connect with your stuff, they don't care that it's coming from YouTube versus coming from Comedy Central or Cartoon Network. They just care that it exists. They're just happy that it's something that they can make a part of their comedic lexicon, and something that they carry with them throughout their life. So they don't care about the source. They're not like, well, I only like studio stuff or I only like Hollywood productions. Nobody's that way. They just want something good. And it's just so great that your stuff is hit because it's just underscored that even more for a lot of people. And I think, as you see with people wanting to make their own absinthe animations or do their own skits that have been inspired by you guys' success, I love that people are realizing that you can do a lot even just from your bedroom or from your small town or whatever. If it's authentic and it works on some level, it just connects with people. The whole small pond mentality, it's just dead, I feel.
Yeah, I completely agree. For my audio skits, all I do is I take a picture with my phone and I have a microphone, and that's it. And you're able to just make something. One thing that I think is important too is like you're just allowed to be creative. It feels strange saying that, but it's like nobody really told me that. Like you're just allowed to do this. You're just allowed to record yourself doing something or making a video. It's like you don't need like a specific set of like criteria to do it. You can just do it. Or it can just be like drawing or playing a song or whatever. I think that's something important to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think far too many people go through this life thinking they have to wait around to be let make a movie or let do comedy in some way. That there's some gatekeepers that are just constantly looking for like, all right, who are we going to let do it next? And it's just not true. There aren't those people, and if there are, they're asleep at the wheel, 99% of the time. So you can go your whole life waiting for that opportunity to be given to you, or you can create your own opportunities yourself, and you can just, make your own really interesting stuff at home or wherever you are with friends, etc. Now, you kind of realized that recently. Was that because of seeing some of Joel's stuff and being like, "Hey, I want to be a part of this"? How did you get into doing stuff with Joel? I know you guys knew each other kind of growing up a little bit, but what changed such that you started creating together?
Honestly, I think just coincidence. Like we just both happened to be back in our hometown at like the same time. He always, he does like the weekly shorts. He was doing them when he lived in New York and everything, and he's just like he wanted to keep that up, and he's like, "Oh, Trent's here. Let me reach out to him." I think just kind of like that, and that's how it started.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's coincidence and it's also destiny because obviously it was so successful. It's just anything good that can come out of, a lot of people are moving back home. A lot of people are figuring out what their next couple years are going to be. And there's a lot of, making lemons out of lemonade here. Joel, obviously, I mean, he's discussed this. He went through certain personal tragedies, experiencing loss, etc. I've gone through my own personal tragedies. I've had loss as well. And I made the lion's share of my feature films, my work after that. And if you had asked me when that happened, I would have thought, well, I'm kind of done. Why make stuff if my mom can't see it? Why even create? Because she was such a great mom and a great friend, etc. But fast forward, most of my creations happened after her passing. And for anyone listening, you can build something great still. You can keep creating even in tragedy, whether it's personal tragedy, whether it's, the pandemic weighing down upon you. You and Joel are kind of this success story of you guys are thrust together in this weird way and you guys create something awesome and it connects with a lot of different people. So I think there's something encouraging there for people as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I kind of had a similar thing, like from like April until like probably June, like those 2 or 3 month spans were probably like of 2020. That was probably like one of the worst times of my life. Like I just went through a breakup. My grandmother passed away. I had to move back home. My job at the time was extremely stressful, and it was just like horrible. But then like right after that is like when Joel came back, and it just happened that we started doing stuff, and I don't know, it just like that started to make me happy, like making stuff and laughing with my friend and everything. And from there, it just kind of exploded, and my life's getting pretty good, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And as things open up, is this kind of the thing where you might want to start doing stand up if that's a possibility, or do, live performances of a sort, maybe improv, maybe whatever? Is that something you're drawn to, or do you mostly want to do filmed stuff where you kind of record yourself talking or record yourself as far as a skit or whatever? What are you drawn to comedically?
I'd probably do more the second thing. So like what I'm doing now, I have kind of tossed around the idea of doing some kind of like podcast, whether it be like more comedy based or like relaxing based. I think that that is kind of what's next for me, like on solo projects.
I think we're gonna see like this next kind of wave of like people coming up and wanting to do comedy. Usually there's these. Usually it's measured in waves of stand up comedy. So like there are stand up booms and then there's stand up busts, so to speak, where like it's kind of dead for a couple years and it's kind of this big thing for a couple years. Same with improv. Same with and when I say improv, I mean like live performance improv. People usually measure comedy on those terms, but I think because of technology and because of cameras being so inexpensive and so great, and because of YouTube, YouTube for a while it was just about like content. It was about like vlogs and this, that, and the other, and that's great on its own. It's its own thing. But I think we're going to start measuring comedy and comedy booms as far as recorded skits, recorded sketches, recorded audio, things of that nature. I think that's going to be more what we judge times comedically based on, because I talk to a lot of people and I don't see a lot of the pull towards live stand up, live improv. It's just not something that people want to do, and I don't blame them, because what you can do with a phone, what you can do with a camera, it's just like you can have that show that you would have been trying to have by becoming a big stand up. It used to be if you wanted a sitcom or if you wanted a sketch show, you had to prove yourself comedically, on stages across the country. You had to put your blood, sweat, and tears in it that way. Now you can, have a show just by having a YouTube account, and nobody's giving you the show. You're giving yourself the show. You're setting the parameters for yourself pretty much. It's a really different world, man.
Absolutely, yeah. And kind of going back to what you said before, it's like that kind of imaginary gatekeeper. There isn't really one. You can just do whatever. You can just create stuff.
So a lot of these animations, they draw from fantasy, they draw from video games. Are those worlds that you're interested in? Is that just like coincidence? Are you a gamer? Are you somebody who's interested in RPGs or fantasy or whatever?
Yeah, definitely. I like at the time we did the RPG one, I actually just started playing Oblivion for the first time a couple of years late, but I played Oblivion, and I just got into Skyrim again and playing some of those fantasy games. I've always been a big science fiction guy. I used to always love the Star Wars movies.
I'm big on the Star Wars movies as well. I'm one of the rare people that actually likes the prequels a lot. Are you one of those?
Uh, Kinda.
You can say no. You can say no.
Episode 3 is my favorite.
It's fantastic. I love episode 3. I feel like that's the one where it all came together, where like what he was trying to do, he really landed and he really nailed with episode 3 as far as the prequels. And then I feel like he kind of also did stuff he always wanted to do with 4, 5, and 6 and 3 as well. I think it was just this melding of the worlds where, like, I was not a huge fan of the prequels until after I saw episode 3. And then I was like, oh my God, I actually get what he's going for. And then it made me kind of revisit episode 1 and episode 2 and see what he was trying to do there. It was just this movie that just brought it all home. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it works really well as a good like bridge between the two series. I don't know. Something about episode 3 I just really like. I think it might just be the memory because I remember seeing that one like in the theater when it came out and everything, and like being a kid, I just remember watching that one the most. A lot of the like scenes and stuff stuck with me.
Yeah, that was, I would say episode 3 was my best Star Wars experience in the theater. I had no expectations whatsoever. And I sat down to that one and it just worked. It just really, really worked. And he brought it all home. And it was one of those hats off to him kind of moments where it's like, man, he really nailed the ending. He nailed the, trick that he was trying to pull off. It felt like the prequels was this like very complicated like skateboard trick where like the board is just spinning and you're like, there's no way this board is going to land like on all four wheels. This is going to be disaster. We're watching this in slow motion over years of just this skateboarder just like he's going to eat it, and then right at the very end he just lands it and it's perfect and everybody just goes crazy.
I think of that one. There's like this one video of this person like shoveling and they're like slipping, and it's like 40 seconds of this person just struggling to get their balance. I think at the end they fall, but it's kind of like the opposite of that, I guess.
I know the video you're talking about. It's a great video. I don't know where it is, but I have seen it, and anybody listening should try and find that shoveling video. It's just, there's something about seeing something drawn out that much where it's just like, oh man, it's irresistible to me. Anything that happens like that, I you know what I get hooked on too? I'm a big pro wrestling guy. I like all that, fun stuff. And there's these gifs where it's like, in like ladder matches where they have to like climb the ladder and get the, belt that's like hung up in the air. I don't know if you're a pro wrestling guy. Are you? Are you not?
I'm not really into it, but I did when I was a kid. I would play. One of my friends had like a WWE video game, and I remember playing a lot of that. And I do remember you have to like get a briefcase or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the ones that I love, there's these gifs on the internet where whether it's a chair, whether it's a ladder, it'll just behave in this way in real life. These aren't like gifs from the video game or whatever. It'll be this thing where like somebody like knocks into a ladder and it just very slowly drops, and then it like lands on the top rope, and then it bounces from the top rope, and then it lands on the middle rope, and then it bounces from the middle rope, and then it lands on like the bottom rope, and it bounces on the bottom rope, and it just finally like thuds onto the mat. And it's just this like random occurrence. There's another great one where like a guy throws a chair into the ring just expecting it to just flop onto the ring, and then it just opens perfectly and it's just sitting perfectly. I get obsessed with these weird like wrestling like matrix kind of like breaking the simulation moments where just things just behave perfectly in this orchestrated choreographed way that was not intended whatsoever.
Yeah, that's really funny. I want to find that chair one. That sounds funny.
Yeah, I'll definitely dig it up and I'll send you a couple of those afterwards. So, what do we have coming up? Do a lot of people love these audio drama comedy things? Are we going to get a bunch of more of those? What's on the front burner, so to speak? What are you cooking?
Lots of stuff in the oven. The audio skits, I'm still going to keep doing those weekly. I also have a couple animations in the work with my friend Alice. She did the stop motion for the video pockets. We have like a 2D animation in the works right now. It won't be done for like a few months at least, but I'm really excited about that one. I have another collab in the works right now with Dean Soups. I did another video with him a little while ago. Yeah,
Have you been reached out to by, big name studios, things of that nature, being like, hey, we want your voice on this new cartoon or anything? Like, has any of that stuff happened?
Nope, not yet.
See, that just pisses me off because, I don't necessarily want you to say yes because I don't want you to become entrenched in like the studio system and get like chewed up and spat out and all that crap and it wastes your time and energy in some way. But I want the offers to be there. I want them to exist because, they're clearly you're connecting to people and clearly people want your voice and people want to see you. I always see like and they mean well, as Joel always points out, they mean well, but I always see the comments where people are like, this should be the new Comedy Central show, or this should be the new Adult Swim show, or whatever. And they mean well, but man, 99 times out of 100, it just becomes a disaster for people, working within the studio system. It's very rarely a positive, freeing experience. If you want a positive, freeing experience, you just kind of have to do your own stuff. But I would like the offers to be there for you. You deserve them for sure.
Thank you. That would definitely be really cool.
Are there voice actors that you really dig, by the way? Are there because you have a very distinct voice and you use it well. It's your instrument and you play it. And what kind of actors or performers do you key into that you really appreciate?
I think a lot of my inspiration comes from like two main like podcasts and audio things I listen to. One is Welcome to Night Vale. It's a pretty popular podcast. Cecil Baldwin, he has like a really unique and distinct voice, and I really love it. And I love that show and the whole kind of Twilight Zone feeling of that. And I feel like I try to work some of that into my skits a little bit, but not too much though. But he's definitely a really big inspiration of mine. And then also another one that I've been listening to a lot lately that he's also really inspired me is The Minute Hour on YouTube and I think on Spotify too. And he does very similar stuff like audio skits, and he's got like an absolutely beautiful voice. I love his voice so much.
That's awesome. I got to check those out. Those are new names for me, and I got to check those out for sure. Well, Trent, if you've heard the episodes that I've done on this podcast before, you know that we close out this show with a little thing I call stupid questions. Are you ready for some stupid questions to close out this episode?
Oh boy, yes.
People get so giddy about it. I'm so glad that people really look forward to the stupid questions. I'll have people on and like once I start bringing up the stupid questions, there's just a glint in their eye where they're like, "Oh yes, this is what I wanted all along. This is what I signed up for. This is why I slogged through 45 minutes of just serious, in-depth talk. I just wanted to get to the stupid questions." First stupid question. Your name is Trent, right? You remember, did you ever watch Daria as a kid?
I did not.
Well, Trent was the hot guy. And so Trent became this kind of like hot guy name in like the late 90s. I don't know how old you are, sir. How old are you?
I'm 23.
So you got totally aged out of tapping into the fact that was the hot guy name. If you were my age, I'm 33. If you were my age, you would have been cleaning up, sir. You would have been doing extremely well for yourself because you were named Trent, and Trent was the cool, hot guy, soft-spoken kind of like guy, kind of like you in a certain regard, with the command over his voice and whatnot. You would have tapped into so much. Are you sad about that?
No, it's all right.
Okay.
That did remind me. There is a character called Trent on the show from a couple of years ago, Total Drama Island, and I think kind of a similar character, like this kind of maybe not shy, but like semi outgoing. And I think he plays guitar on the show. But
well, that sounds like my Trent. That sounds like they ripped off the Daria Trent. He's a guitar player as well. Maybe it's a reference. I don't know. I don't know the show you refer to. You're one of those kids who brings up things, and I'm like, I feel old now. It hurts too because like you have a beard. And, we could be the same age, like theoretically, like in a movie, nobody would bat an eye if we were like peers or whatever. But then you'll bring up some stuff and I'll just be like, man, I do not know what this kid is talking about. If this man with a beard is bringing up stuff that's like a generation past me, how old am I? It causes a lot of crisis for me, sir.
I'm sorry.
You're causing me pain, brother. All right, next stupid question. All right, your last name, Lenkarski, right?
Hmm.
It ends in SKI, right?
Yes.
Do you ever ski, sir?
No.
Never? With the name Lenkarski, you never picked up the skis ever once?
Nope.
Nothing. Are you drawn to the slopes?
I mean, I'd like to at some time go skiing, but I haven't yet.
I've never skied as well. I never had the opportunity. I've never even been in like one of those cabins. I'm mostly if I'm gonna go somewhere like that, I'm excited for the little thing you ride up to the top of the mountain where you like sit on the thing and it just kind of brings you up there.
Yeah. I've never been on one of those either.
Doesn't that seem exciting? That thing.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's like that's the ride, you know? If I'm going up there, I'm just going up on that and then I'm going back down it. If you can go back down. I don't know if it goes both ways. I think it probably is like a one-way thing where like you have to hop off it and then you have to ski down. That seems like a slog. It should be like a two-way thing. If I'm going to be the Kramer of this like episode or whatever, I would invent a one of those, I don't even know what they're called, man. One of the ski things that you ride up. Do you know the name?
I think it's a ski lift.
Yeah, ski lift. I did know it. I just forgot it. Okay. Two-way ski lift. That's my Kramer invention idea of this episode.
I think they do that.
They do? Ah, man.
I think they're like sideways treadmills that go up kind of. So like it goes around at the top and around at the bottom.
Could be. I'm sure somebody's going to write in or let us know. Nobody's written in so far, by the way. I haven't gotten any. I've gotten comments, but nobody's like, no letters in the mail. Not that anybody has my address, I hope, but no letters, no emails, nothing like that. But people listen. People listen to the show. But hopefully that has been invented because I would like to be on that. I would like to go both ways, sir. I would like to go up the mountain and I would like to go back down the mountain the way I came.
Yeah.
All right, so no skiing. All right, let me think of one last stupid question because I feel like some people think I get a little cheap here by using names. It's just a really easy way for me to get into stupid questions. But I know people want me to expand my horizons as a stupid question asker. So let me think of another stupid question. I asked Joel this, and it teeters on not stupid. It teeters on a legitimate question. Have you been recognized in the street by strangers?
I have not.
That could be just the small town thing. It could be, everybody's indoors because the pandemic or whatever. But I think that's cool because that means that somebody out there in this world will get to have that first experience of yours. That's still up for grabs. If you're listening at home, you could be that guy. You could stop Trent on the street and embarrass him in front of the public and be like, "Oh my God, sir," and like do like the Wayne's World, like we're not worthy kind of thing. Somebody can have that experience. That's still up for grabs.
Yeah. I want it to happen. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool too. I hope that when it happens, it's the guy who has the Marshall tattoo, or it's the one who has you on their arm or whatever.
That'd be really cool. I have a stupid question.
Oh, this would be great. I've never been asked a stupid question during stupid questions section, and I've been waiting probably patiently in the back of my mind for that to happen. Please give me a stupid question.
All right. What's the last thing that you cooked that you burnt?
Ooh, that's a good one and it's a good one because I'm really good at cooking. So, you know what? It was bread, and I burnt the bread because toaster ovens are finicky, man. And if you count toasting bread as cooking, which I think it can be, I think it can count as that. It's so funny. Some days, you have it set perfectly and it works right. And then the next day it's the same setting and it just burns the crap out of it. I had this really good, it was called like country bread. And I got it at the store because it was called country bread. And I was like, you know what? I want some country bread. And I just like when things are called like specific things like that, And I live in the city, so I don't want to get city bread. Who wants that? It's probably got like pigeons on it or something, dried up like bits of bubble gum, like from the curb or whatever. Nobody wants city bread. I want country bread. So I bought the country bread, and it's a little on the thin side. It's delicious bread, and I think because it was just a little bit too thin, it damn near incinerated, man. It completely blackened. It was like it came from hell. That was the last thing I burned. How about you, sir? Do you burn anything recently?
Oddly similar. Today, actually, at lunch, I had a grilled cheese and I put it on the burner for just a little too long, and it was very burned.
It's a thin line with the grilled cheese, man. It delicious and too burnt is like this very razor thin thing with grilled cheese. It's kind of a hard thing to make perfectly.
Yeah. My remedy for it was I turned it into a kind of a pseudo Monte Cristo sandwich because I put a little maple syrup on the side to
Okay.
counteract the burnt.
That's a good tactic. Me and Chloe, my girlfriend Chloe, we make movies together, blah, blah, blah. She's awesome. We do this thing now where we'll do like, when we make like a big kind of like breakfasty meal or whatever, where we make, we're vegan, so we do like fake eggs and stuff like that. But when we do that kind of combo or whatever with lots of stuff, we'll have a little dish, like what we call a monkey dish. That's like the diner slang term, but like a very small bowl. They call it that because it's like the kind of dish that you would give a monkey, which is just the greatest term ever. I just love that that's the origin of that slang term. Is like, well, why is it called a monkey dish? And it's like, well, if you were going to feed a monkey something, sir, you would use one of them little dishes, wouldn't you? And so they're called monkey dishes. And so what we'll do is we'll do a monkey dish with some maple syrup in it. It's got to be real maple syrup. I'm not talking about like log cabin, like imitation craziness. It's got to be real. Little monkey dish of maple syrup to dip the buttered toast in. And it's just so good to have, just that little dish next to your plate. I love it. I'm a big fan of toasted things with a little bit of maple syrup because it's like a cheating towards French toast kind of thing.
Yeah, 100% agree.
You a big maple syrup guy?
Yep, I was just gonna say because I'm New England born and raised, so we got that good Vermont maple syrup. There's my parents know some people in town that do the tree tapping. I forgot the name for it, but yeah.
I love maple syrup. I grew up on maple syrup. The real stuff, never the imitation. I don't think I've ever even tasted the imitation, honestly.
Oh.
I don't let it pass my lips, sir. Only the good stuff for me. All right, well, Trent, it was great talking to you. Thank you for doing the show. And everybody, if you like the Joel stuff with him, definitely check out his channel, Trent's channel himself. He does these great stuff. Sometimes Joel pops up on them as well. I just like you, sir. I like what you're doing, and I hope people check it out.
Thank you. I like you too. You're a very nice man.
Thank you, sir. All right. See you soon.
Yep. See you, man.
Thank you all for listening. And again, if you love the show, $2 per month, KillTheLionFilms.com. Support us. Support what we're doing as far as the podcast and the movies we make. See you soon.